Welcome to r/Amithedevil, the place where we dive deep into truths most people don't want to admit. Today's topic might ruffle some feathers. It's about the Vajongo and why it's honestly a poorly optimized design. This isn't about disrespect or shaming. It's about looking at reality without sugarcoating. The Vajongo, as natural as it is, comes with some serious flaws that nobody talks about openly. We're here to break down those flaws in an honest way, to understand why the Vajongo might not be the perfect design it's often thought to be. This discussion is raw, unfiltered, and aims to shed light on something that's been ignored for far too long. So, what exactly makes the Vajongo a mess? Why does its design cause so many problems, both physically and socially? Over the next few minutes, we'll explore its anatomy, its confusing layout, and how all this affects not just health, but intimacy and culture. Stick around because you might never look at this part of human biology the same way again. Let's start with the basics. The Vajongo, or female genitalia, is a complex set of parts that work together, but unlike its male counterpart, it's far from simple. It includes everything from the outer lips, called labia majora and minora, to the clitoris, the vaginal opening, and the urethra. Each part has a role, but their layout is anything but straightforward. Unlike male genitalia, which generally have a clear and visible structure, a penis and two testicles, the Vajongo's parts overlap, fold, and hide from plain sight. The labia, for example, vary wildly in size, shape, and color from person to person. The clitoris, a key pleasure center, is mostly internal, with only a small external part showing. This complexity can be confusing. It's like trying to understand a machine with too many hidden buttons and no clear manual. While the male design is often described as simple and functional, the Vajongo is more like a puzzle with pieces that don't always fit neatly together. This isn't to say one is better than the other, but the Vajongo's design definitely raises questions about ease of use, care, and even pleasure. As we go deeper, keep this in mind. Complexity doesn't always mean better. Sometimes it just means complicated, and that's where the Vajongo starts to show its cracks. If you look closely, the Vajongo is a visual maze. Unlike the straightforward, symmetrical design of male genitalia, the Vajongo is full of folds upon folds, lips of different lengths, and hidden parts that seem almost designed to confuse rather than clarify. There's no standard shape or size. No two Vajongos look alike. This lack of symmetry and order can make it feel like navigating an unpredictable landscape. Imagine opening a complicated app on your phone that's cluttered with buttons, menus, and pop-ups with no clear path to what you want to do. That's what the Vajongo looks like, an interface that's tough to navigate. You have the outer lips, which can vary from barely visible to quite prominent, hiding the inner parts. The clitoris, which is the main source of pleasure, is often tucked away beneath layers of skin. The vaginal opening itself is flexible, changing shape and size, sometimes hidden behind folds or lips. This visual chaos doesn't just confuse, it complicates function. Unlike the male genitalia, which is easy to understand visually and physically, the Vajongo requires exploration, guesswork, and sometimes even trial and error to figure out what's going on. It's not just about looks. This confusion spills over into intimacy. Partners may struggle to understand what works and what doesn't because the design doesn't offer clear, consistent cues. Contrast this with the male design. Simple, symmetrical, and with most parts clearly visible and easy to access. Every male has a penis that looks generally the same. Symmetry, predictability, straightforward. The Vajongo, by comparison, looks like a secret treasure map with no legend, full of twists and turns, making it hard for anyone to know exactly how to use it effectively. All this adds a layer of frustration and mystery, making intimacy more complicated than it should be. And this is just the start. The clitoris is often called the Vajongo's main pleasure button, but it's buried deep beneath layers of skin and folds, making it hard to find and stimulate. Unlike a visible button on a device that you can press anytime, the clitoris hides in a way that requires effort and knowledge to access. This hidden nature causes confusion and frustration for many. For partners, it's a guessing game. They don't always know where it is or how to stimulate it properly. The common assumption that just penetration equals pleasure ignores the clitoris entirely, leaving many women unsatisfied or confused about their own responses. Misunderstandings about how to find and stimulate this crucial part cause tension and disappointment. This hidden design makes sexual pleasure less straightforward than it could be. Imagine if the main pleasure control on a gadget was hidden under a cover or tucked inside a tricky compartment. People would struggle to use it effectively. The Vajongo's clitoris feels like that, a vital function, but poorly accessible. If the design was more like a clearly marked, easy-to-reach button, intimacy would be simpler, more enjoyable, and less stressful. This hidden pleasure button adds unnecessary complexity, contributing to the overall theme of a flawed, confusing system. The Vajongo requires constant care, attention, and hygiene to stay healthy. Unlike male genitalia, which is relatively low maintenance, the Vajongo's design makes it prone to infections and imbalances. The folds and moist environment create a perfect breeding ground for bacteria and yeast, demanding careful cleaning and pH balance maintenance. Women have to monitor their health closely. Any disruption in the vaginal pH can cause uncomfortable infections like yeast infections or bacterial vaginosis. These are common problems that many women face regularly. Hygiene isn't just about washing, but involves delicate balance, because harsh soaps or improper care can cause irritation or worsen infections. Compare this to male genitalia, which is easier to keep clean and less prone to complicated infections. The simplicity of the male design means fewer health problems on average, contributing to an overall easier maintenance routine. Medical complications like urinary tract infections, pelvic inflammatory disease, and others often arise from this complex design and the difficulty in maintaining ideal conditions. These issues aren't just minor annoyances. They can lead to serious health problems and hospital visits. This constant upkeep shows just how poorly optimized the Vajongo's design really is. When nature demands such constant, delicate maintenance, it raises the question, couldn't it have been designed better? The Vajongo's confusing design directly affects sexual experiences for both partners. The variability in shape, size, and sensitivity means there's no one-size-fits-all approach. This unpredictability can cause frustration and pain instead of pleasure. Because there's no standard fit, partners often struggle to understand each other's needs. What feels good for one woman may be uncomfortable or even painful for another. The hidden clitoris, combined with the flexible but sometimes sensitive vaginal opening, creates a confusing experience that can lead to disappointment. Pain during intercourse is common, caused by dryness, lack of arousal, or simply anatomical differences. This can create tension and embarrassment, with partners unsure how to address the issue. Misunderstandings multiply, and many give up before they find ways to enjoy intimacy fully. For many couples, sex becomes a trial and error process rather than a natural, mutual experience. The Vajongo's unpredictable design contributes to this problem by lacking clear signals or consistent responses. Imagine if intimacy were as simple as a plug-and-play device, with clear feedback and easy connection. This would reduce frustration and create a shared pleasurable experience for both. But the Vajongo's current design makes that much harder. The Vajongo's invisibility adds layers to female sexuality's cultural challenges. Because so much of it is hidden, women's sexual experiences and desires are often misunderstood or ignored. Society rarely sees visible signs of female arousal the way it does with men. This invisibility fuels stigma and taboos around female sexuality. Many women grow up learning shame and silence about their bodies, making it harder to talk openly about desire or pleasure. Without visible cues, others assume women aren't interested or engaged in sex, which is simply untrue. Men's visible arousal makes their desires obvious, simplifying communication and expectations. Women lack that clarity, and that gap creates misunderstandings not only in relationships but also socially. This invisibility adds to the cultural pressure women face to hide or downplay their sexuality. If the Vajongo were designed to be more visible and expressive, it could promote honesty and equality. People would understand female desire better, and open discussions would become easier. The poor design doesn't just cause physical issues, it shapes society's attitudes, reinforcing silence and shame around female bodies and desires. Cultural shame around female anatomy runs deep, and the Vajongo's design plays a big role in this. From early childhood, girls are taught to hide pads and tampons, to be quiet about their bodies, and to avoid open conversations about their Vajongo. This secrecy feeds into the idea that the Vajongo is something dirty or embarrassing, unlike the male anatomy, which is often accepted openly and even joked about. This double standard creates psychological and social burdens for women. Because the Vajongo is hidden and complex, women often feel isolated when dealing with issues like menstruation, infections, or sexual concerns. The silence around these topics prevents honest conversations that could reduce shame and misinformation. This silence isn't natural. It's a product of a poorly designed system that hides the Vajongo away, making it easier to ignore and stigmatize. Imagine a Vajongo 2.0, a thoughtfully redesigned version that addresses many of the flaws we've discussed. This upgraded design would prioritize easier access to the main pleasure center, making stimulation straightforward instead of a confusing guessing game. The clitoris, instead of being hidden beneath multiple folds, could be positioned in a way that's clearly visible and easily reached, allowing for a more intuitive and enjoyable experience. Better health would also be a key focus. The new design would minimize deep folds and moist areas that currently harbor bacteria and cause infections. It would be easier to clean and maintain the correct pH balance, reducing the risk of common vaginal infections that cause discomfort and medical complications. Hygiene wouldn't require constant vigilance, but would be simple and effective. Visible signals of arousal could be built in, helping both partners understand when a woman is fully engaged and enjoying the moment. This would promote better communication and reduce the misunderstandings and frustrations that often arise from the Vajongo's current invisibility. With this redesign, pleasure wouldn't just be easier to achieve. It would be more mutual and accessible, improving intimacy for everyone involved. Women would have more control over their own bodies, and partners would be better equipped to share and respond to each other's needs. Most importantly, a Vajongo 2.0 could break down harmful myths and taboos that have surrounded female sexuality for centuries. Open discussions would become more natural, and women could feel less shame and silence about their bodies. While it might seem like science fiction today, such improvements are worth imagining, and maybe even striving for. It's important to recognize that the Vajongo's current design didn't appear by accident. It's the product of millions of years of evolution, as well as deeply rooted cultural and emotional associations. For many, the Vajongo isn't just anatomy, it's a symbol of femininity, identity, and tradition. Some might feel that suggesting a redesign is disrespectful or even threatening to these values. But this conversation isn't about attacking femininity or sexuality. It's about honest, objective evaluation of how well a system works and where improvements can help. Just as technology and medicine advance by recognizing flaws, so too can our understanding of the human body evolve. Evolution often favors survival over convenience or comfort. The Vajongo's complexity may have helped in reproduction or protection historically, but that doesn't mean it's perfect for modern life or well-being. Change isn't about erasing history or identity. It's about progress and better health, pleasure, and equality. Constructive criticism can lead to innovations that enhance everyone's lives without undermining cultural respect. This discussion is a call for open minds, not judgment. We should be able to talk about design flaws without shame or defensiveness, in order to improve knowledge and promote healthier, happier experiences. To sum up, the Vajongo is clearly a complex but flawed design. Its hidden pleasure points, high maintenance, unpredictable experience, and cultural invisibility create real challenges, both physical and social. Yet these problems don't have to be permanent. Honest conversations like this one are crucial to break silence, challenge taboos, and rethink what's possible. If we want better intimacy, health, and understanding between partners, we must be willing to question the status quo and explore new ideas. The Vajongo's flaws aren't a condemnation of femininity. They're an invitation to learn, improve, and grow. Now, I want to hear from you. What do you think about the Vajongo's design? Have you experienced any of these frustrations or surprises? Do you believe a redesign is possible or even necessary? Leave your thoughts, stories, and opinions in the comments. Let's start a bold conversation that has been avoided for too long. Are we ready to challenge nature's design and imagine a better future? The choice is ours.